Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So if you watched the video from last week, I am in the middle of answering a viewer question about timelines, and it's really kind of a 2-3-ish part question. Last week I focused on IRB timelines, and this week I'm going to take on the rest of the question. But if you haven't watched that IRB video, please do so. So for this video, we're going to talk about the remainder of the question that goes like this. How do you develop a timeline for fieldwork? More specifically, how can I break down in writing how long it will take to carry out in-person interviews for original data collection? Now, here's where I am kind of missing. Sorry, I have this hair. Okay. I think we can go on now. It's a little hard for me to be super specific here, right? Because I'm missing a lot of details, all right? But I'm going to do the best that I can. So let's take a big picture look first when we're developing a timeline. Now, I don't know what kind of, like how long the study is going to be, but let's say it's going to be 6 months, okay? Let's say that for 6 months, you're going to be going out into the field, let's say 3 days a week, and you're going to be doing, we'll just say observational work, right? So, you know, okay, 6 months, all right? Whatever those 6 months are, and you know, every week, 3 days a week. And I would build in a contingency plan in case something goes wrong, right? So sometimes when I have to go out into the field, you know, things get canceled. I might get sick. You might get sick. The people that you're going to see might be sick or have an emergency, or maybe you have to go present at a conference. And so what I would do is, to the best of my ability, sort of be able to build that in, not necessarily by adding more weeks, although you might have to add an extra week or two if some of your field observations get compromised for reasons that are out of your control. So keep that in mind. But maybe, you know, 1 week I go 4 times, or maybe, you know, 1 week, you know, maybe I'm going 2 times on average, but maybe here and there I go 3 times, just to sort of build up some of that extra observational data that I need to account for some of these times when I thought I was going to go and I got a flat tire and I didn't make it to my observation. Okay. Stuff like that. But in general, you've got this bound time frame of, in this example, 6 months. And you also, within that, after you sort of map out, here's where I want to be doing my observational research. If you've got things that you're going to do where you might have some assessments, like I am often measuring students' reading abilities. Other people that I work with might be measuring how well students are learning information. So they might do a pre and a post, or they might do a pre and then a middle and then a post. And so that has to be a part of your timeline as well, right? So then that can maybe, now I thought I needed 6 months for data observation. Really, maybe I need 7 because I got to include these assessments and some other stuff. Okay. Now, what this person specifically asked about was, how long does it take to carry out in-person interviews? Well, that depends. Okay. So how many people are you interviewing? How long do you expect these interviews to be? So I've interviewed teenagers and I've interviewed adults. And what I have found is that 20 to 30 minutes is generally pretty good, okay? And for teenagers, what I have found is that I like, if I can, it usually works out this way, but it doesn't always work out this way. If I can interview them more than once, and if I'm going to be in the field for multiple months, then I probably am going to be able to interview them more than once. That first interview tends to be more like 10 to 15 minutes because it's awkward. They're not used to what you're doing with them. But by the second one, they're a lot better. And if you do a third one, they're even more better. They're more comfortable. They know you. They're used to the process. So think about that with the people you're interviewing. Like, how comfortable are they going to be with you? Because if you need to, right, you might say, well, I know that they're not used to being interviewed, and I know this particular population is not going to be super comfortable. So I kind of think that the first interview is not going to be the best interview, and it's going to be kind of on the short side. So I'm going to make sure I do a couple other interviews with them, right? So I can really get at that information once they're more comfortable. All right. So that's something to think about. Some particular populations love being interviewed, love talking to you. Okay. So you might say, hey, 20 to 30 minutes, but it might end up being 45 to 60 minutes because that person really loves to talk and really has information to share with you. How detailed right? How detailed are your interviews? I just did an interview the other day. I had 7 questions. I told the person 20 to 30 minutes. It probably took more like on the 20-minute side because the study itself wasn't something overly complicated, okay? And this person was really clear on what they liked, what they didn't like, what worked about their behaviors. They were really succinct, and so it just kind of went a little faster, all right? But as far as how long it'll take, I mean, it really depends on your goals, and it depends on the person or the people that you're talking to and how comfortable they are. And then it also will depend on the complexity of what you want to talk about, all right? So I've done interviews where I'm sitting down with people and I'm saying, okay, this is the survey that you gave me, you filled this out, and I have some questions about a few of these items on here. I want you to take a look at a few of these items and I want to talk about them with you. And then I might also, on top of that, say, I've been hanging out in this environment and these are some things that I've noticed and I have some questions and I want to talk to you about that. Like, I might come with lots of questions about lots of different issues and situations, right? And so that can take longer. You also want to give space for your participants to share what's important for them, right? What they want you to know. So I like to give my participants a heads up. Hey, you know what? Especially if you're working with teens, like, I like to say to them, hey, you know what? It's Monday. On Friday, you and I are going to do an interview. We're going to talk about what's been going on in here. So if you've got anything that you want me to know or any questions you might have for me, like, come prepared, bring it. We're totally going to talk about it in addition to some things that I want to talk about with you. And they're like, cool. And they will show up usually with stuff that they want to talk about. So you have to factor all of that in, and you have to build that into your timeline, right? So if I'm interviewing, let's say 5 or 6 people, and I'm planning on, particularly because I go into schools, so I know if I go into schools, if I'm going to interview somebody, I have to interview a kid during the class that the study's taking place, and I can probably do 1 kid a day. Maybe I can do 2, but I'm going to plan on having a whole week where I'm doing interviews and I'm not doing observations. So then again, I have to cycle back to my observation calendar. How many observations do I really need to get? Okay. And so now how do I need to modify that length? Do I need to come in like a full 7 to 8 months instead of 6? Do I need to have more observations per week, but so I can stay on my original timeline of 6 months, right? These are all things that you have to think about. So there's not a concrete answer, right, to this question. There's just things that work better or not as well for your particular situation. And so these are just all things that, you're going to need to think through when you're setting up that timeline. Now, I love when I get viewer questions. And I love turning them into videos for you all. So if you've got questions about anything at all, head on down to the comments, put them in there. I would love to hear them and do the best that I can to help you with them.